I bought 50 of the very first generation original iPhone 2G. None of these phones work, and I'm starting a new business. So my fascination with these older iPhone 2Gs started about 3 months ago now when I was filming the video where I flipped an original iPhone all the way up to a brand new iPhone 15. In the very short period of time that I had that phone in my possession before I sold it and had to ship it out, I grew to really like having it around in the office. I thought it was really cool, and I just think these older iPhones are a very cool little reminder to have around in the office as a reminder for how far tech has come since these original phones were released over 15 years ago now. So pretty much right after I posted that video, I started looking immediately to try and find another phone that I could have for myself that I could actually just keep in the office and have laying around, just because candidly, I just thought they were really cool. I started looking for a phone to buy. I actually stumbled upon these really cool frames that I'm sure some of you guys might have seen them on the internet. There's a lot of sellers on Etsy that make them. They're pretty much just older vintage phones like the iPhone 2G, taken apart and put in a frame as art. And honestly, I thought they're really cool, even cooler than just having a phone set aside itself. And to be honest, my plan was just to buy one from another seller. But when I started looking at the prices, these things are selling for so much money that I just couldn't justify it. I pretty confident I could make something better myself. So instead of buying one phone from someone who makes them, I bought 50 and I'm gonna try making 50 of my own. I figured I have access to technicians who I'm already using to fix my phones for my actual business. So I have people who are more than capable of making these and putting them together. I have a graphic designer who can make a really cool design for these, and I'm pretty good at buying phones for a pretty good price. So not only do I think I could make these for a much better price, but I think I could make a better product. And I figured if I'm gonna go through the hassle of making one of these, I might as well just make 50 of them. All right, so before I start bringing these to my technicians to start tearing them apart, I kinda wanna plug them in and see if any of these work, because even though they said they're not supposed to work and they're supposed to be not working devices, if even one of these actually works, I think they're worth a pretty penny. So I'm at least gonna plug them in, test them, see if any of them work. So I got a whole bunch of these older 30-pin iPhone chargers, the very, very original iPhone chargers. Got a whole bunch of these, and I got a charging dock so that I could set up multiple at a time. I'm gonna go ahead and start plugging these in real quick and see if any of these guys work. I know it probably seems like it's very easy to source phones in this condition if they're not working, but not only are these original iPhone 2Gs getting extremely hard to find as is, finding them, even not working like these ones, finding a supplier who had them and was willing to pick and choose for devices that didn't have cracks on the screens, didn't have any missing parts, and didn't have any LCD burns or anything like that was actually extremely difficult. And I did have to pay quite a bit of a premium to get these phones in this condition without any of those issues. So I know they're not working, but trust me, this was harder to find than you would think. I just finished testing all the phones, and unfortunately, they tested them pretty good. None of these phones work, but surprisingly, a lot of these phones, almost all of them, did show signs of life to some degree. A lot of them would start charging and not turn on. Some of them seemed to have bad batteries and would just boot loop, or maybe motherboard issues. And if it wasn't that, they would have some sort of dead pixels or something on the screen. Definitely could probably get a lot of these working with a new battery, or if you Frankenstein together the parts from the different phones, but I'm not sure that'd be economical. I think they've done a pretty good job before they sent them to me at confirming that these aren't working phones. So unfortunately, we didn't get lucky with any of these ones. There was no crazy working iPhone 2G in any of these phones. All right, so I am currently on the way to go meet up with the graphic designer to start getting the templates made for the background of the frames. Listen, I'm not gonna pretend that I'm the first person to take apart an old iPhone and stick it in a frame, but I do wanna create something that's actually custom and original and is built custom from the ground up. Instead of just using a random template that someone else created, I wanna get our own made, and I wanna make something that looks extra sick. Well, hello, how's it going? It's Mike, you know Mike? All right, so we're here with Mo. He's actually gonna be helping us do the graphic design and get the templates made for the 2Gs. So first things first, I think we're gonna go ahead and get these taken apart so we can kind of lay out what the frame's gonna look like. Yep. Cool.
All right.
All right, so it's been about an hour. He's still taking it apart. He hasn't opened one in a while, so I'm hoping that that means it's just because it's the first time and it's not gonna take this long for every single one, because I'm not sure how economical this is if it takes that long to take them apart every single time we do this. So they've actually already made one for the 11 Pro and for a Samsung. We're not doing Samsungs, don't get any ideas, but they've already made one and taken the thing apart. So this is kind of, if you want an idea what we're going for, we're gonna add our own flare. It's obviously gonna be a 2G. And we're gonna add some of our own design stuff to it. All right, so we just finished taking apart the phone and we got pretty much everything out. We got a couple more parts to take apart. Now we're just gonna kinda lay it out on this sheet of paper, try to figure out where everything's gonna go. Then you're gonna scan this.
We'll take a picture of it.
Okay, so we're gonna get a picture of it, get it scanned, I assume then you bring that into your software to Illustrator?
We'll lay it out something like this. We'll lay out what each part is.
Cool, and then that's where the actual graphic design stuff starts to come in.
Yeah.
Cool. More or less, everything's just being laid out based on where it is in the phone. We're gonna figure out the most aesthetically pleasing way to lay this out, get a copy of this, get it into the software, and then actually, if you look at that one, we're gonna go ahead and get some sort of layout, get the text, get the graphic design, add our own flair to it, and make something cohesive for the template. We just finished up laying everything out, and I think we have a rough idea of what it's gonna look like. We'll probably make some small adjustments once he actually gets it into the program and he figures out how to fit everything and based on frame size. But we got the rough idea of what everything's gonna look like. He's still gonna go ahead and get the graphic design work done, and then once we have a finalized template, I'll show you guys what that looks like at the office. So we just got back the graphics. So this is roughly what the graphics gonna look like without a phone on it before it actually has the disassembled phone on it, where everything is labeled and all of the stuff you want to know about the phone, including the release date and the discontinued date. And then this is roughly, obviously it's like faded a bit so they know, the technicians know where to put it, but this is roughly what it's going to look like once there's actually a phone on it. So everything here, all this stuff is obviously not going to be printed. It's going to be an actual real phone placed on top of the design. Design is pretty minimal, and that is by design. With these frames, I wanted what we highlight to actually be the older phone, and that's what's cool about these and what makes them interesting, which is the older iPhones and the vintage aspect of it and what makes it unique. I just wanted to clearly label and show what everything is and do a very simple design. I didn't want to do any quotes. I didn't want to do any extra fluff on the design that's unnecessary, because in my opinion, that looks a little tacky. And I think what really makes these cool and really makes these special is the internals of these older phones. So I just wanted to clearly have them all labeled, laid out, lay them out in an aesthetically pleasing way. Just make something that showcases the phones and makes those look cool rather than just overwhelm the design with a bunch of random quotes and stuff. All right, so we just got the prints printed for the templates, and we're currently on our way to go get the very first framed iPhone 2G made. I have to admit, starting with the iPhone 2G and the first generation iPhones probably wasn't the smartest move business-wise. Quite frankly, they're quite expensive. They're difficult to source. I'm learning they are a lot more of a pain to take apart, and they take a lot longer to take apart than I expected because they're just not as repair friendly as the newer old phones would be, like a 4 or 5 or even like an iPhone 6. So they're very much a pain to take apart and gonna be a lot more complicated in terms of labor costs than I expected to get technicians to actually get these made, just because it's such a tedious process. And overall, just probably not the smartest ones to start with. What I think I'm gonna do, and what's gonna have to make the most sense to make these make sense, is for these first 50 that I'm gonna have up, I'm still gonna price them super low. They're gonna be priced well below market, and they're probably not gonna make that much sense for me in terms of profit margins or anything like that. But for anyone who likes them or thinks they're cool, they'll be there. They'll be something cool that you guys could have. And if they do sell, I'm gonna have to raise the price a little bit just to make it make sense to keep making these, at least for the first generation ones. And then what I think I'm gonna do, because I still want something in a very attainable price point for like a handmade framed iPhone, is I'm gonna set up a pre-order as well for iPhone 4s, iPhone 5s, and iPhone 6s, because those phones are a lot easier to source because there was so many more of them made. They're also a lot easier to repair just by the way Apple designed them, and they're still old and vintage enough that I think they're still really cool and will make for a very cool framed product. All right, so we got the designs printed. This is the actual paper we used. This is a lot thinner than what's actually gonna ship with. There's like a much thicker cardstock we're using, but this is what it looks like printed. Not sure how visible that is. And we do have the frames ready to go. And we're officially putting together the first one. So very soon I should have the first framed iPhone 2G that we've made ready to show you guys. All right, so we officially have our very first framed iPhone 2G complete. I'm honestly super stoked on how these turned out. It turned out way cooler than I even expected, and I am beyond excited to get this up in the office and on display for the rest of my videos. Genuinely, I did not expect this to look so cool and be such a cool piece of art to have in the office. As mentioned earlier, if you guys want one of these for your own office or your own room, you can go to the link in the description, and I'm gonna have, I guess, 49 of these left over, of it ready to be made, handmade by my technicians for you guys, for anyone who wants these. First 50, I'm pricing super low to the point that you could not make one of these yourself and buy all the stuff individually and get them at the price that I'm gonna be selling these original frames at. And unfortunately, after this first 50, if they sell out and you guys want them, I'll make more. But the price is gonna have to go up on these for future ones just because of what it costs to actually get these done and the man hours it takes. And one final thing, when you guys get these, if you order them, please go ahead and tag me on Instagram when you get your orders and show me where you're putting them up, what you're doing with them. I wanna see how you guys like them and I wanna see them in your offices. So Instagram's gonna be down below. I'm starting to use the platform a lot more, so follow me there. If you get one of these, tag me when you get it. I wanna see them. Hopefully you guys like them. That is gonna be all for this week's video, and I will see you guys in the next video.